Dragons, the ancient guardians of the skies, spirits of rivers and symbols of imperial power. But in Asian mythology, dragons are so much more. These magnificent beings aren't just creatures of legend. They are woven into the very fabric of nature, revered as forces of life, and central to centuries of spiritual belief. Today, we're diving deep into the world of dragons, where they don't just breathe fire, they breathe life. In China, dragons are far from the destructive fire breathers often depicted in Western myths. The Chinese dragon, or Long, is a benevolent force that controls the rain, rivers, and oceans. These dragons are considered spirits of nature, essential to agriculture and fertility. In fact, many Chinese farmers and fishermen would historically pray to dragons for rain, as their crops and livelihoods depended on the goodwill of these creatures. If you enjoy rice and tea, you might just have a Chinese dragon to thank. But dragons in China didn't just control nature, they symbolized ultimate power, particularly imperial authority. Emperors were believed to be descendants of dragons, giving them a divine right to rule. One of the most famous dragon myths is the story of the Dragon King of the East Sea, a figure with dominion over water and weather. Instead of hoarding gold like their Western counterparts, Chinese dragons hoarded clouds, ensuring rain for the land. Talk about practical treasure. In Japan, dragons, or ryu, play a different role. These majestic creatures are protectors of the sea and often serve as spiritual guides. One of the most iconic figures in Japanese mythology is Ryujin, the sea god, who resides in a crystal palace beneath the waves. As ruler of the tides, Ryujin controlled the oceans and even aided the first emperor of Japan by gifting him the tide jewels, stones with the power to influence the seas. Now that's a gift worthy of royalty. While Chinese and Japanese dragons share many traits, Japanese dragons tend to be more closely associated with wisdom and protection. Ryujin's influence over the tides and helping shape the course of Japan's imperial history showcases how these creatures were seen as divine forces, not just powerful beings, but wise and protective ones. Korean mythology also embraces dragons as creatures of immense power, but with a twist. Korean dragons, or Yong, are closely related to their Chinese counterparts in their connection to water and nature. However, in Korea, dragons are more than just bringers of rain. They're also seen as protectors of justice and morality. Korean rulers often invoked dragon symbolism to project their sense of righteous authority. One famous legend involves King Munmu, who united Korea during the 7th century. After his death, he was said to have transformed into a dragon to continue protecting his kingdom from the sea. King Munmu's transformation into a dragon shows the depth of reverence for these creatures in Korean mythology. Dragons weren't just powerful, they were deeply tied to the country's moral and political landscape, protectors of both the land and its people. Moving south to India and Southeast Asia, dragons take on a more serpentine form, known as Nagas. In Hindu and Buddhist traditions, Nagas are half-dragon, half-human spirits that control water, fertility, and balance in nature. Just like their East Asian counterparts, Nagas are tied to rivers and lakes, but they are also deeply spiritual figures. In many tales, they are guardians of hidden treasures, protectors of the earth and symbols of fertility. Across China, Japan, Korea, and South Asia, dragons have evolved over the centuries. In every culture, they started as nature spirits, beings tied to the land, water, and the skies. But over time, dragons grew into symbols of divine authority, wisdom, and protection. They are a bridge between the human and divine worlds, representing not just the forces of nature, but the very essence of balance and harmony. Chinese dragons became symbols of imperial power, while Japanese dragons acted as spiritual guides. Korean dragons served as protectors of morality, and South Asian Nagas represented the spiritual balance of the universe. Despite these differences, the one thing all these dragons have in common is their deep connection to the natural world, serving as a reminder of the forces that shape life on Earth. So, the next time you think of dragons, don't just picture fiery breath and treasure hoards. In Asian mythology, dragons are much more profound. They represent nature, balance, power, and spirituality. They've guarded kingdoms, controlled the seas, and watched over the earth itself. Perhaps they still do. With each story and legend, dragons remind us that power doesn't always come with destruction. Sometimes, it comes with the harmony and balance that lies within nature itself. So, what do you think? Are these ancient beings still watching over us, or have they faded into myth? I'll leave that up to you.